It was just decided in a Boise, Idaho courtroom that Bryan Kohberger, that individual who was accused of viciously killing 4 college students on November 13th, 2022, was granted a plea deal to avoid the death sentence.
Count 1, burglary, felony. How do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogan, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Gonzalez, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first degree murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
When you think about that, I don't know what's going on in your mind. Those of you who watch news, those of you who will listen to some type of news story today, you're going to process that through various lenses. And of course, our heart goes out to the family of those 4 college students who lost their life senselessly at the hand of this individual who did plead guilty to committing these crimes. But there's almost a concept that an injustice has been done. And I'm not going to suggest that those who are crying out for that don't have a case to be made. But I do want to get on and talk about this idea of, from a Christian standpoint, how are we supposed to respond to this? Because even though we are followers of Jesus Christ, there seems to be a sense within us that when an injustice is done, we cry out for justice. Almost in the Old Testament sense, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. And of course, Romans chapter 13 gives the government power and authority to punish those who do evil in ways that you and I don't have. It's not about what the government could do. Could the government pursue the death penalty? Yes, they could. Could the government decide that he gets life in prison? Yes, and his sentencing will take place later at another date. However, I want to talk about this idea for those who hunger and thirst for justice. Sometimes that can consume us when it doesn't turn out the way that we were thinking it should. I want to remind you of what Romans chapter 12 and verse 19 says, when here Paul writing says, "Never take your own revenge, beloved, but leave room for the wrath of God, for it is written, 'Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord.' But if your enemy is hungry, feed him, and if he is thirsty, give him a drink. For in so doing, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And it's that last part. We all know that ultimately justice will be handed out by God and vengeance belongs to God, but it's that admonition, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. In this particular case, Bryan Kohberger admitted to doing committing horrific crimes. And I couldn't even imagine what it was like there in that house in Idaho and what the family members must have gone through up to this point in time. But I do know this, that as you talk about this today, as you hear the news reports of this, as maybe you read something on the internet about it, I want to remind you from a biblical concept how we're supposed to view what might appear to be injustice, or what some would say not appear, it is. The reality is we root ourselves in God and His ability to make all things right. That doesn't mean in this life things are going to be rosy. It doesn't mean that loved ones will not perish at times at the hands of evildoers. But what it does mean is this, that God will take care of the revenge or the vengeance, the text says. You and I need to make sure that in our walk in this life, we are not overcome by the evil, but yet we choose to overcome evil with good.